Marcell Jacobs, Olympic champion, the man who shocked the entire sprint world. Then he vanished. 3 years of silence, 3 years of pain. Now he is back in Rome, same coach, same city, and the man who took his gold is waiting on June 4th. Can he take it back? Marcell Jacobs was born on September 26, 1994, in El Paso, Texas. His mother is Italian. His father, a United States Army soldier, was deployed to South Korea when Jacobs was barely a month old. His mother took him back to Italy. They lost contact with his father for years. Jacobs grew up in Desenzano del Garda, a small town on the shores of Lake Garda in northern Italy, with no real connection to the country printed on his birth certificate. He started as a long jumper. He was good. He won Italian titles, but a hamstring injury in 2017 pushed him toward the track. He began to sprint. He had the frame for it, 6'1", explosive off the line, with a start that looked machine precise. He broke the Italian indoor 60-meter record. He won the European indoor title in Torun, Poland in March of 2021. Then, in his very first outdoor race of that year, he ran 9.95 seconds in Savona and set the Italian national record in the 100 meters. Nobody outside Italy had him on their radar when he stepped onto the track in Tokyo on August 1st, 2021. Every expert was watching Trayvon Bromell, the American who had dominated the early season, and Fred Kerley, and Andre DeGrasse. Jacobs was an afterthought. He lined up in lane 3 and ran 9.80 seconds. A European record, a personal best, the Olympic gold medal. He was the first Italian man to win the Olympic 100 meters, the first European to do it since Linford Christie of Great Britain in Barcelona in 1992. Minutes earlier, his teammate Gianmarco Tamberi had won high jump gold. Italy had 2 Olympic champions in the same night, in the same stadium, in the same hour. It was the kind of thing that happens in movies. "It's a dream," Jacobs said after crossing the line. "Maybe tomorrow I can imagine what they are saying." What followed the dream was not celebration. It was 4 years of fighting his own body. Jacobs began vanishing from start lists almost immediately after Tokyo. He pulled out of Diamond League meets in the United States, Belgium, and Switzerland. Calf trouble, hamstring problems, thigh strains, gastrointestinal illness that landed him in a hospital in Kenya for a night. Every time he was scheduled to race, something went wrong. The questions from the media turned hostile. Fans and critics in Italy accused him of hiding. He pushed back directly. "People's criticism really hit me hard," he told The Guardian. "It came from everywhere, as if I wasn't competing because I was afraid. I've never been afraid of anything in my life. I wasn't competing because I wasn't able to." He did produce 2 important wins in 2022. At the World Indoor Championships in Belgrade, he defeated Christian Coleman over 60 meters to become World Indoor Champion. At the European Championships in Munich, he ran 9.95 seconds to take the European 100-meter title. But those wins were surrounded by exits. He withdrew before the semifinals of the 2022 World Championships with a thigh injury. At the 2023 World Championships in Budapest, he failed to qualify for the 100-meter final altogether. He made a decisive call. He parted ways with his longtime coach Paolo Camosi, the man who had transformed him from a long jumper into an Olympic champion and relocated his young family from Italy to Jacksonville, Florida. He joined Coach Rana Reeder's elite training group, working alongside Andre DeGrasse, Trayvon Bromell, Jerome Blake, and Abdul Hakim Sani Brown. He said he needed to be tested every day by top-level runners. He needed a new environment to put the pieces back together. On August 4th, 2024, at the Stade de France in Paris, Jacobs qualified for the Olympic 100-meter final. The defending champion entered the biggest race of 4 years as an underdog. He ran 9.85 seconds, his fastest time since Tokyo. He finished 5th. Noah Lyles won in 9.784 seconds, edging Keishane Thompson of Jamaica by 0.005 of a second in one of the closest finishes in Olympic history. All 8 finalists ran under 10 seconds, a first in the history of the Games. Lyles pumped his fist. He was the new Olympic champion. He had taken the throne. Jacobs was seen limping off the track. He had given everything his body allowed. He did not make excuses. "I wanted to be the one celebrating," he said afterward. "But in life, you need to know how to get back up after you fall." He meant it. because he did not stop. In May of 2026, Jacobs left the United States and came back to Rome. He is staying at the Acqua Acetosa Olympic Preparation Center in the Italian capital. His room, the training track, the gym, and the dining hall, all within walking distance of each other. Everything he needs is on one campus. He described the decision simply. "It brings me peace of mind," he told Gazzetta dello Sport. "Many people were happy to see me back." The most significant part of the return is the person standing next to him on the track. Paolo Camosi, the coach Jacobs separated from 3 years earlier, is training him again. When Jacobs came back to Italy, the reunion brought him back to his roots. "We quickly found the right feeling again," Jacobs said. "No one knows me better," and he immediately addressed what was most needed. What Camosi addressed first was technical, foot placement, leg turnover, the fluid, efficient action that Jacobs ran in Tokyo but lost somewhere in the injury cycle. They built the intensity back slowly, from low-load work toward race sharpness. Jacobs is honest about where the gaps remain. "When I push hard," he said, "I still tend to rely too much on raw power." His diagnosis of his own running is the kind of self-awareness that coaches value. He knows what he needs to fix. He has the right person beside him to fix it, and he is already clear on the remedy. Race, compete, get back on tracks where the gun fires and the clock runs. Jacobs is 31 years old. His personal best in the 100 meters remains 9.80 seconds, the European record he set in Tokyo, which still stands. That time is 1/100th of a second behind Noah Lyles' personal best of 9.79. On paper, they are essentially the same sprinter. In a single race on a given day, either one can win. The gap in recent form is harder to ignore. Lyles has already posted 9.89 this season. Jacobs' most recent competitive marks sit closer to 10.1. The sprint field has accelerated around him while he dealt with injuries. Kashane Thompson has run 9.77. The standard is higher than it was in Tokyo, which means Jacobs needs to close not just the distance between himself and Lyles, but the broader gap between his current fitness and the front of the sport. What Paris showed is also useful evidence. Injured, under-raced, without peak form, Jacobs ran 9.85 and finished 6/100ths behind the gold medal. That is the floor when things go wrong. If the preparation holds, if the track sessions translate, if the body stays intact through a full season, his ceiling is something different. On May 20th, Jacobs races at the Savona International Meeting, his first outdoor start of 2026. It is not a coincidence. It was in Savona in 2021 that he ran 9.95 and announced himself to the world. He returns to prove that what is happening in training is real.